Hello and welcome to the Sports Leadership Playbook podcast. My name is Dr. Robert Pryor, and thank you for joining us for today's episode. I have a special guest on hand, Devon Teeple. Devon is a 2019 graduate of the Master of Sports Leadership program. Devon's got a great background, a baseball guy all the way through, but he's also very talented in other ways. He's an entrepreneur. He's a mentor for many. He's also an author with a best-selling book. So welcome, Devon.
And thank you for the invite, Dr. Pryor. It's a privilege to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Devon is from St. Catharines, Canada these days, and talking a little bit about the Blue Jays earlier and the Red Sox and just how exciting the summer has been for the Red Sox in particular. So, Devon, I'll just open it up to you and just tell us about your background and what led you to the sports leadership program.
Baseball has been a driving force in my life since day one. I just remember as a kid, with those little plastic bats that we could get back in the 80s, I'd hit the apples over the apple tree in my parents' backyard. And there's just something about the game. I don't know what it is. People say it's romantic. It's a great game, and it's taught me a lot, right? From playing in St. Catharines, minor league baseball, like a minor baseball association. The same friends I've had growing up since we were 10 years old that, we're still friends today, and we're all, different avenues in life, but we can get together at any point in time, talk about, when we were 12 years old, and then we just talk about baseball, right? And then we talk about our families and what we're doing. And um, baseball has always been something to strive for. I wasn't the biggest guy in the world, 5'10", a buck 80, from a small town in Southern Ontario, born and raised in Niagara-on-the-Lake, 12,000 people. And the dream was always to play professional baseball. And, that's, it's a dream a lot of kids have, is to play pro sports, but how do you do that? Right. And lucky for me, had great coaches along the way, with varying experiences in athletics, and they led me down the right path. Right, my parents are a big influence. Kept me on the straight and narrow. Focus on education. Baseball took me a long way. I was able to get a baseball scholarship to York College in Nebraska, a small NAIA school. So I was there for 4 years. The nice thing about that was, being a small school of 500 students, I could play right away. I didn't have to redshirt. I didn't have to wait. I was going to go, it's a rebuilding program. So we knew we were going to struggle, but, being there from day one, sort of, getting those building blocks set in play. Friends I still have to this day that were on the team. I think there was 3 or 4 of us from my freshman year to my senior year that were on the team. We had coaching change for our junior year. We had a coach come in from California, brought in a lot of California guys, really just changed the mindset, a winning mindset. How to be a good teammate, how to win, how to lose, and how to get better. And people think sports is just, accolades and winning, but it really is those stepping stones and those building blocks to when you get older, right? How to be a good person. There's a lot of ego, a lot of attitude, on good teams, right? And how to handle that, or how to handle when, you're struggling. I remember my sophomore year, I went 12 with an ERA under 4, and I'm like, man, what is going on? Like, this is not normal, right?
That's Paul Skeen's record, right?
Yeah, something like, yeah. I wish I could throw
No,
like
no,
Paul
no
Skeens.
run support.
Yeah, exactly. And then new coaches came in, new players, and then we start winning, and it becomes a mindset, and you look at things differently at that point, right? And come senior year, we were having success. I was having individual success as well, and the opportunity came to go to some independent league tryouts literally 2 or 3 days after our final tournament, and signed with the River City Rascals of the Frontier League. Went through spring training, got cut, got picked up by their sister team, the Gateway Grizzlies, and played with them for 3 or 4 months. So, different world. It's a business at that point, and you're a big fish in a small pond.
Mhm.
Now you're playing with guys who are at Duke and K-State and Notre Dame, and, your pitching coach is Danny Cox, who won the World Series with the Jays,
Mhm.
big time starter with the Cardinals in the mid to late '80s. Champ Summers is our coach. So it's a very different mindset, right? You have guys getting drafted during the season, guys getting released, guys getting picked up. So it really opens your eyes to what's out there, right?
Mhm.
And after getting cut and realizing like, hey, baseball's not going to be my thing, it's okay. How do you regroup and what do you do? And you know, let's go down the path a little bit, and finishing my bachelor's at York College was something. I was 12 credits away from graduating in 2001 when my scholarship finished, and coming back to Canada and the exchange and all that, it was very difficult to try to finish that. So once everything became online, I was able to finish my bachelor's online, drove to Nebraska, walked, cap and gown, did the whole deal. And shortly thereafter, I was searching for a way to do my master's, stay involved in sports somehow. And it led my way to Northeastern. Everything was online. The program through the College of Professional Studies, um, very easy to navigate, very easy to understand. Obviously, a lot of great people have come through the program. You do all your homework before you want to go through it. And
Mhm.
come 2013 to 2019, that's where we connected. And Dr. Wajnar, you guys were my professors through the majority of it, and I still talk to both of you to this day, whether it's personally, professionally, and that's something very special that you don't get to do that often, and to be able to connect with you on a platform like this to talk about life and what I'm doing now is a pretty cool thing.
Fantastic. And student athletes, many do go back and complete their degree. It's a necessity to at least complete the bachelor's, and then for you to get the advanced degree is really a feather in your cap, and it just adds to your portfolio and the experience and expertise that you bring with being a mentor and working with young people. Could you explain the GM perspective and how you started that and what that's meant for you to stay involved with your passion?
Yeah, so always wanting to stay involved in baseball. To try to get a job with a major league club is it's a long road. To get a job with a minor league team, especially in Canada, and then trying to get to the States, and working for very little money while trying to build your resume up and join the workforce and be an adult, right? There's a lot to it. So
Hmm.
um, I was able to connect with Maury Brown. He ran a website called The Biz of Baseball, and we connected through an online baseball program, and they allowed people to learn the inner workings of the game, whether it be baseball, football, basketball, from scouts, from journalists, from writers, from ex-players. But you really learned um, the stats side. That's sort of when Moneyball was kind of getting big. So you're getting in at the beginning stages, right? But still learning the grassroots of the game, how to market, how to coach, that sort of thing. And through some of the projects and my work, Maury was a guest speaker. He saw some of the work I did with the Tampa Bay Devil Rays when they were the Devil Rays, organizational report, and he said, "Hey, I'm starting this website. It's a baseball business website. You want to be my editor slash researcher?" And it was like, do it on my own time, 5-10 hours a week. Just look for anything on the internet that we could post on the site, talk about, generate some conversation. And worked with Maury for 5, 6, 7, 8 years, and gradually I thought, I could do something too. I could do this, and at that time, Maury was venturing off into writing more for magazines. He writes for Forbes now, so he does a lot of business sports articles. Very heavy into racing, indie racing, F1 stuff like that. And that allowed me to mess around with WordPress and create my own website and try to code and do all that. I had no idea what I was doing, but I know if I could put some good content out there, hopefully it would generate some interest. And being able to create my website, the GM's perspective, and at the beginning, it was typical, stats in business and A-Rod and Jeter. And, you can
Mm,
only talk about those guys for so long because they're talked to death, right?
mhm. Yeah.
So I was able to get my press pass to go cover the MLB winter meetings. So I was down there for 3 or 4 years in December. Really saw the inner workings, got to hang out with a lot of the journalists in the media room and just see how things worked, how it progressed, see the players, how they connect with the writers, how they mingle, how they handle themselves in situations where lives are going to change and it's interesting. I think I put out when it was Twitter, everyone's in the lobby having drinks, having fun, and then you hear a beep, and then everybody, hundreds of people looking at their phone at the same time. It's unbelievable, right?
Right.
But that was it was is a fantastic experience, and from there, sports and baseball there's so much to it, and you have to be very targeted if you want to be good at something. So I started focusing on independent baseball, small, lesser known minor league teams. I played independent baseball, for 4 or 5 months and saw how it worked. And, I could speak on that. I lived it. I did it. I can talk about it. And it turned from, articles about business and teams and trades to interviewing athletes, interviewing players, interviewing personalities from all walks of life, whether it was music or movies. And the reason I did that was as you get older, you mature, you understand yourself more. And, I'm a big advocate for mental health and wellness and understanding, anxiety and depression and some of the stuff I dealt with in the past that I never really talked about. Hearing other athletes talk about their mental health struggles made it easier for me to help myself and being able to talk about that, right? So, like you said, your specialty is putting things together, and it's sort of therapeutic, right? To put your newsletters and your writing together. It's therapeutic for me to all hours do homework and finding someone that is interesting for me to talk to, not just about their accolades on the field, but what they're doing outside of sports, right? What they're doing to help the people around them, what they're using their personality to leverage, whether it's the community or people who can't help themselves. And big shout out to Chris Herron, Sports Illustrated at 16 as one of the best point guards in America from the Boston area.
Mhm.
And he was up there with Allen Iverson and all these guys. And I remember when I was in college, that's when he was big at Fresno and he was getting in trouble. And you're reading about it, you're like, man, this is so cool. As a 20-year-old, you're not thinking, it's not cool, right? And so as I got older, I read his book, Basketball Junkie, in 20, I think it was 2010, when I moved to Thunder Bay, which is 16 hours away from my home, to go work for the bank. My first job in the bank, I moved up north, and while I was staying in the hotel, I read his book, and that book changed everything for me because you're reading about someone who had everything, didn't talk about what his struggles were, and he hit rock bottom and then was able to pick himself up. And it probably took 24 months of me reaching out to various outlets to get an interview with him. And from there, I've interviewed him 5 or 6 times. I've shared his story on my site. He put a couple of my interviews of him on his website with Heron Wellness, and he helps people with addiction. And I don't know if I'd be where I am if I didn't read that book because it impacted me so much. And if Chris ever sees this, I just want to say thank you to him for doing what he does because what he does is amazing, and the people that he helps is truly it's something special.
Mm.
So, yeah. So that evolved, the website evolved into that. Now it's kinda turned into something else, right?
That's interesting. And for athletes anywhere, mental health and just the
Mhm.
pressure that they're under, you've seen it with Olympians, a gymnast, Simone Biles, who just step away, the pressure. And it's not easy, right? You're under the microscope, you're expected to be perfect. Just to get through life in general is not easy. But you add that on top of it and the expectation and learning how to deal with failure and emotions, and it's all part of it. So that's wonderful. You were able to get something from Chris Herron's book and then to connect with him and then yourself be somebody who can mentor and advise and give your
Yeah.
perspective and assist people. It's pretty
Yeah,
amazing.
it's pretty neat, right? Like, we talk about social media and all the avenues that we have to connect with people, and it is overwhelming, right? And I think, we'll get into that in a couple minutes when I talk about the book. But on the flip side of it, it connects people in a different way that we're not used to, right? Like, this, for example. Would we be able to do this 20 years ago? No, it'd be on a
No.
phone, and it would be uncomfortable. Um, but yeah, and that allowed me to literally just reach out to any athlete. Hey, this is my story. This is why I want to talk to you. Can I get 5 minutes, 5, 10 minutes? And whether it was going with them directly or going through their agent or their media team or their people or their team, um, it opened my eyes of what's out there. Because it's never a no. You just got to find the right way in there, and you got to find the right people. So, whether it's journalists or places I wrote for, and understanding who their connections were, and after time, once I put my stuff out there, I could reach out to someone, and they said, yeah, let's do the interview. And I said, hey, do I have to connect with someone on your team to coordinate? They said, no, we trust you, we're good.
Hmm.
And so that
Wow.
it made me feel good, because at least they knew that I wasn't going to spin or twist
Sure. Yeah.
anything that they talked about.
Hmm.
I would record it on the recorder, whether it was, on the phone, and I would just edit it myself. I wasn't good with editing tools like there is now. I would just, like,
Yeah.
type and delete and type and delete. It's very tedious, right? But it was nice to hear that, Michael Irvin, Brett Favre, Chris Herron, Greg Zahn, the hundreds of people that I've talked to, Josh Booty, professional baseball and collegiate football, right? He had some stuff happen to him that was in the papers and the media, and he appreciated me not bringing that up, because there's no point, right? Yeah, it's in the past. You've made your amends for it. It's over. You're doing things now that are helping others.
Right.
So,
You weren't looking for an exclusive. You were looking to not look in the rear view, but look forward. So what are you doing now and
yeah,
what's,
sharing a
you
story,
know,
right?
right, and focus on the positive. Yep.
Exactly, and that, people would see that. So, Miles Jury, he was on, The Ultimate Fighter 2 times. Hurt his knee in the first season, came back for a second season, and then got a contract with the UFC. Him and his team reached out to me and said, "Hey, do you wanna work together? We like what you do, you're positive." And, that was, 2 or 3 years of me. He put my logo on his shorts at a UFC fight, and I'm watching it on pay-per-view, and I'm like, That's cool, right?" My logo's on his banner on the cage. I went to a couple of his fights, and he'd invite me to the after parties, and, me and my wife would go, and, it's intimidating, right? You're with these fighters that you see on TV, and these guys are just, they're jacked. They are
Yeah.
big guys, but they
Yeah.
are the nicest people in the world. They were
Hmm.
there with their moms and their girlfriends and their friends, and it's just you don't see that. So to be able to go behind the curtain and see what goes on, it's, I was so thankful to see that. They were so genuine and nice. I still talk to them to this day, even though he's not fighting anymore, he's training. Couple of his other friends who are fighters, I've done work with them. We stay in touch, and, now he's fighting in Japan, with Ryzen. So it's, sports is a funny thing, right? We're all trying to do the same thing, but then you get older and you veer off, and you see that there's other things that are out there that can help
Hmm.
people. And I
Sure.
think that's the biggest thing. And that goes to the coaching and the mentoring, and, people that just reach out on email and say, hey, I saw your post today on LinkedIn. It was really nice to see that. Thanks for sharing. Or I stopped drinking nearly 5 years ago, changed my life. Hey, thanks for sharing that. I'm still struggling, but hey, we appreciate you putting that out there. And, I say it a million times, if one person reads it and it gives them 60 seconds of relief, then I've done my job, right? And that's it. Maybe they do something different the next day or the next hour that flips the switch and they can, get peace or change something in their life that's difficult, right? And that's what all this is about.
Well, it's great to
So,
have a purpose, and it's great to
yeah.
have something is kind of paying it forward and doing good, right? That's what everybody should be trying to do, is to focus on what can I do to make things better for others. Let's see. Why don't we'll switch gears and we'll talk about the book.
I'll do my shameless plug, The Breach Index by Devon Teeple on Amazon, Kindle version available also. I will give a big thanks to the people on Upwork. I tried to self-publish this myself. My gosh, man. Like, I used Upwork a few times to do things that I couldn't do. They make the person I worked with was so easy, knew his stuff to be able to get my work out there. It took a lot of pressure off me so I could focus on, just making sure it was ready to be published. And to say it was 16 years in progress, I would say that's probably true. It's something that I've been working on for a long time. And, whether it's mental health and wellness and sports and kind of the environment we're in right now, there's been a lot of ideas floating in my head about, how can I put this down on paper? How can I take a different spin on humanity and selflessness and the internet and community, and put it on paper that really gets people thinking differently, right? And I can't even tell you how many rewrites and pages and notes and waking up at 2 in the morning and sending myself a text so I don't forget the dream I had,
Yeah. Oh,
um,
yeah.
but it's honestly a book about, we're so overloaded with everything is at our fingertips right now. And being able to shake someone's hand and say hello is like a foreign concept. You shake someone's
Mm.
hand and they kind of lean back and go, what are you doing, you know so the book is really what happens when humanity and their mind just gets so full, and everything is to capacity. What happens? And I could say it's a thriller, a psychological thriller. I could say it's science fiction. I could say it's a love story, because a lot of it is, you're looking at someone, and we don't take the time to just thank people for, hey, you're a good friend, or you're a good mentor,
Mhm.
or hey, Dr. Pryor, thank you for what you did during the 6 years I was taking classes, right?
Yeah.
That's something that we don't do enough of. And, I hope that message gets across in the book, but I was able to keep the messaging and what I wanted to deliver as accurate as possible. And to see it, when you first hit publish, that's probably one of the scariest things I've ever done. I
Mhm.
played pro baseball, and I'm a dad, and all the stuff that goes with that is, two young kids, and, you're trying to be good and you're trying not to mess up. To press publish and say, holy crap, like my words are out there. Are people going to laugh at me? Are they going to think I'm nuts? I got to go to work tomorrow. What if someone reads it? you know? Um, but it's so cool. I've had close friends and old colleagues who picked up the book, and the feedback has been phenomenal. It's very humbling, because again, if one person reads it and they like it, that's it.
Mhm.
That's what matters. If it sells 1 million, cool, right? Good on me. But if someone reads and says, you know what, I really enjoyed it. It made me think differently. I'm going to read it again. That's it's humbling, and it's very overwhelming when you read that, and it's from someone that you care about. So, I let my dad read the first version, and he was blown away. He had a couple tears in his eyes and stuff. all of this, all the struggles, the ups and downs, mental health awareness, understanding myself, trying to learn differently, trying to, expand my horizons and, watch or read things I've never had an interest in. And then hopefully it helps somebody, right?
So I hope so. And at the end of the day, it's really about personal self improvement, continuing to learn, being a sponge for information. I do like what you said about interaction where people don't shake hands anymore. And I think post pandemic, it's impacted
Mhm.
that generation coming up through Zoom school.
Exactly.
So that's something that you can share, and hopefully that'll open people's eyes where it's okay to meet somebody in person and to send a letter versus a text. Well, those personal touches really go a long way and make a great impression on people. But that's where your experience is going to help others. I wish you well with the book. I will read the book. It's how many pages?
126.
So that's maybe one afternoon. Knock that out.
Oh yeah, my dad got it through in 90 minutes, so we're good. We're good. You'll be fine.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, we're getting close to the end, Devon, but I did want to ask you if there's any piece of advice you'd want to share, whether it's a current student, somebody who wants to work in sports, somebody just in general in life. Is there anything that you would want to leave with them?
Yeah, I think don't get distracted by the noise, and it's okay to completely change direction if something's not working. It used to be, I can handle anything myself. I won't ask for help. I got this. It's impossible. And again, it's as you get older, you mature and you see things. And now looking back, I'm like, oh my gosh, I could have made my life a lot easier if I would have done this. But realizing that, whether it's personally, professionally, on the field or in the workplace, um, if you're a people leader, people look to you, and how you address them and how you handle tough situations is how people are going to remember you, not only as a manager or a leader, but as a person, right? And that advice piece of just being you, being transparent, and understanding that, if you have good intentions, it's going to work out, right? You
Hmm.
just have to find the right path to complete what you're trying to complete. Like we were talking about previously with how classes and courses are changing. 6 years to do my master's. It's online. You can do it as much as you want. Did I want to do it faster? Of course, but life and things get in the way, but you persevere, right? You just keep doing it. You do it well. You ask for help, and good things will come from that, right? And
Right.
never be afraid to ask or say, I don't know. Like, or just say, you know what? We have all text, right? I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Help. It's not
Yeah.
hard, and like yourself, I did that many times with you. Good leaders, good people will reach out and say, "Okay, let's talk. Let's have a coffee, connect on Zoom. I'll shoot you to whatever it is," right? Good people will respond back, and they'll have the right advice for you at the right moment.
And it's okay to ask, as you said, because
Exactly, right?
people can't read your mind. But if you say, hey, I could really use help, or can you explain this? What do you think? It's good to get somebody else's perspective on something because you'll say, "Oh, okay, yeah, I get that.
Mhm.
That's great advice." And you're a great example of somebody who's persisted through different stages in life. You were striving to be better. You completed your bachelor's after the fact.
Mhm.
Finished playing baseball. You pursued a master's degree. You continue to achieve and to be a great role model for the people that you work with. And I think your book's going to be successful, and just keep on striving for more and having a purpose, really. That's what it's all about.
Thank you, Dr. Pryor. It means a lot. Really, really does. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Devon Teeple, for joining me today on the Sports Leadership Playbook podcast. It's been great to catch up with you. And the Breach Index, if anybody's interested, look it up on Amazon. I think I saw it on Walmart as well. Well,
Even better. Even better.
pick it up and enjoy that and connect with Devon. I'm sure he'd be happy to speak with anyone who's interested in reaching out. So thank
Absolutely.
you, Devon, and we'll be seeing you soon. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Pryor.